greatness, where does it come from? Diet? Dress? Genetic engineering? No, science has proved that greatness is determined entirely in the first 7 years of life by environments and people that we have no control over. Greatness is forged in Hodgenville, Kentucky, the birthplace of Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in a log cabin on the Sinking Spring Farm, where a shrine now sits today.
Many people feel that Lincoln was born not just in a log cabin, but of a log cabin, that the logs of the cabin were made from the wood of an enchanted tree, and that the magic of the cabin coalesced all of the frontier spirit into the shape of a human being, a kind of immaculate conception of the frontier. But it is widely agreed that those people are idiots.
His parents were Nancy Hanks, a farmer, and Thomas Lincoln.
Lincoln's father was a carpenter. He made a great many things, but the one thing he never succeeded in making was a son without Marfan syndrome. The Lincolns led a rugged life, but by no means would they be considered poor. Thomas Lincoln was a wealthy landowner, and log cabins were typical dwellings for the day. And in the frontier times, you would supplement your income any number of ways. You could run odd jobs, you could run beer across state lines, capturing woodland creatures and forcing them to give you their gold. Pimping was very common.
It was in these earliest of years that some of Lincoln's strongest political beliefs were forged.
Kentucky, of course, was a slave state, and Thomas Lincoln was very much anti-slavery. He strongly disagreed with the Baptist Church's decision to tolerate slavery in Kentucky, and he took his family to a smaller Baptist church that had seceded from the larger Baptist Union over the issue of slavery. And then when Lincoln was 6, a very large army from the larger Baptist Union invaded and reintegrated his church into the fold, which I'm sure left an impression.
It was also under Thomas's guidance that Lincoln developed his most revered quality, honesty. "Father was a scrupulous man," wrote Lincoln in 1848. "And any time he thought that I had lied, about sneaking sweets or tracking mud into the cabin, he would hit me 25 times with a 2x4, usually on the head until the board broke. And that's how I got the name the Rail Splitter. Honest." Nancy Lincoln also had a profound effect on young Abraham.
Nancy Lincoln was actually a very talented seamstress, and she made a number of hand-stitched puppets for the children, which she would then use to act out the fairy tales of the day for their amusement. And it was from these productions that Lincoln eventually received his lifelong love of the theater.
But as important as Lincoln's family was the land itself, the fertile Kentucky soil from which Lincoln's character sprang.
Playing outdoors would have been Lincoln's greatest pleasure. He was unable to read at a young age, and both of his parents were believed to be illiterate by Kentucky state law.
Living a frontier life unburdened by school or even the most rudimentary personal hygiene, Lincoln played for hours in the meadows and forests of Kentucky. Popular frontier children's games such as Try Not to Get Smallpox and Hit the Local Half-Indian Child with a Rock, all the while gaining an appreciation for nature and God's creation. But in nature, young Abraham also came face to face with the grim specter of death that would hang over the nation 5 decades later.
Legend has it that Abraham Lincoln almost drowned in this creek as a child and was saved by a neighbor. And while some people dispute the veracity of this story, it would explain Lincoln's 1863 executive order, which put all creeks in America in concentration camps.
Abraham Lincoln left Kentucky at the age of 7 when Thomas moved the family to Indiana following a dispute over land titles. Some have speculated that he also moved because the log cabin they were living in Kentucky was a total shithole. But Kentucky left its mark on young Abraham.
Lincoln was a great man, and he's claimed by many states, Illinois, Indiana, but the most important time in any human being's life are those formative years. By the time you're 7, we know whether or not you're going to be the leader of the free world or turn out like you did, destined for middle management, just fated to crap out a bunch of fat kids for the rest of your days. And in that respect, Kentucky is the most important place in Abraham Lincoln's life. Although, growing up in frontier Kentucky, you think you maybe would have learned to dodge some bullets, am I right?
Oh, too soon. Yeah, I know. Too soon.